So, joining us today to tell us more about it is John Horner, who's an associate at Tunnellraysor in Sussex County. John, thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. So, there is new legislation in Delaware focused on this problem.
Absolutely. Just yesterday was passed a law requiring ignition interlock devices for all DUI violations. Prior to that, you only were required to get an ignition interlock device if you had multiple offenses or if it was a first offense and your blood alcohol content was above 0.15. But now, every violation is requiring the ignition interlock device.
Okay, so how do they work?
Well, what it does is it's installed in your car, and it's fairly expensive to install, so it further adds to the cost of the DUI itself. It requires you to blow into it prior to starting the car.
Okay.
When you blow into it, you have to provide a sample that is free from alcohol below a certain threshold, and then the car can be driven. But after that, intermittently while driving, it will also require you to blow a sample. If you cannot provide a sample while you are driving, it will log the event, and that could serve as a violation of your probation or a violation of your conditional driving license.
Okay. Now, there are different levels of penalties, I guess you'd say, depending on the offense. You can have multiple offenses. Let's start with a first-time offense. What is threatening us for a first-time offense?
Absolutely, the penalties do vary, and specifically with Delaware, every state's a little different. But in Delaware, you're going to have a maximum of 6 months in jail, fines of up to $1,500, a license suspension up to 24 months that varies based on your blood alcohol content.
Yeah.
And likely you're going to have a course of instruction, substance abuse classes as part of a condition of your sentencing.
And this is Delaware.
This is Delaware, correct.
All right. You know, moments ago we touched on a driver who had multiple DUI offenses. How do they continue to drive with all of these offenses?
Well, often if they're irresponsible enough to drive intoxicated, they are irresponsible enough to drive without a license. I would say many of the repeat offenders that I see in my practice are also charged with driving with a suspended license. So a lot of times their licenses are suspended, and you know, first, second, and third. And further offenses, the suspensions increase. So they're just driving irrespective of whether or not they have a license.
I'm glad you brought that up. So let's go ahead and jump in there. Let's say a fourth offense. What kind of penalties are we looking at?
A fourth offense, you're looking at a 5-year license suspension in Delaware.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
Statutorily, 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, and those who have a couple of arrests, they can really face some serious consequences.
Absolutely. You know, we went over the first offense penalty, but after that in Delaware, mandatory jail time starts with your second conviction. If you're convicted of a second DUI offense in Delaware, you're going to get 60 days in jail. The judge has no discretion. Your third offense automatically bumps the charge up to a Class G felony with a minimum penalty of 1 year in jail that, again, the judge has no discretion on. The penalties increase per DUI all the way up to a maximum of the 7th and beyond, where you're going to have a minimum of 10 years in jail, which again, the judge has no discretion. If you're convicted of that 7th DUI, you're going to jail for 10 years. Plus also, there's usually other crimes that are involved, whether it be driving with a suspended license, or if you hit somebody, a vehicular assault, or if you kill somebody, vehicular homicide, where, you know, that can really put you in jail for a very long time.
That's some pretty serious stuff there.
Absolutely.
Which should be enough to teach me I'm not going to drink and drive. But what if I'm involved in an accident with another driver who turns out to be drunk and either takes off or stays? What do I do then?
Well, you have the same remedies as if you were hit by any other driver. You know, I recommend you know, obtaining a lawyer if you've been injured. You can seek, you know, insurance to cover your bills, sue them for the damages. Additionally, if they are charged with a DUI, the prosecutors will often consult with you, and you're even allowed to give a victim impact statement. So there's a range of sentencing, and if somebody, if say it was their first DUI, the judge may say, well, normally they wouldn't get time, but if a victim gives a strong impact statement and says, this is how my life was greatly affected by this, you could potentially increase their criminal penalties.
All right, John, we're coming up on a holiday weekend, 3-day weekend. A lot of folks may be planning on doing some drinking. Any advice for those who maybe are considering drinking and driving?
Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
I know that's the clear-cut answer. Taxi cabs, sober drivers, anything you can do. Holiday weekend, they're out there looking for you even more. There's lots of cars on the road. In the beach areas, there's tons of pedestrians. We want everybody to stay safe so they can enjoy the beaches. So plan ahead, either get a taxi or a sober driver, and help keep everybody safe.
Think it through, be careful. John Horner, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in today.
Absolutely.
And if you'd like to read more about the Tunnellraysor Law Firm, go to WBOC.com and click on our picture at the top of the page. When it comes to driving with your dog in the car with you, there are really no rules. So what happens if you're in a crash? Well, some people use special harnesses to secure their dogs, but are they safe? We'll tell you what a recent crash test revealed.
And a little later on, here's somebody who secured a place in the history books. Tennis superstar Lindsay Davenport talks with us about her amazing career, including her induction into the Tennis Hall of Fame, plus whether she thinks any of her 4 children will follow in her footsteps. Delmarva Live. We'll be right back.